Hello everybody, in this video we are going to continue working on our simplifying expression solving equation notes. But in this particular video we are going to focus on our combining like terms. I'm going to read what it says on the top. To simplify an expression, remember an expression has no equal sign, you have to look at each term individually. Organize the like terms, then combine like terms by either addition or subtraction. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at the combining like term problems. Each one of these are expressions because none of them have equal signs. So the main thing I want to point out before we get started is if your expression doesn't start off with an equal sign, we are not going to add one at the end. Okay, so if it starts off as an expression, we're going to end with an expression and we're just going to clean it up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the three terms. Notice that this is a term, this is a term, and this is a term. And so we're looking for numbers that have the same variable or the same type of number so we can combine that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to circle the negative 5b. I'm also going to circle the positive 8b because these are like terms. They both have b. Now, I like for you guys to organize it. So if they're not already sitting next to each other, I want you to go ahead and set them next to each other. And I have this negative 9. I'm going to bring down the negative 9. So once I rearrange the expression to where the like terms are next to each other, I'm going to ask you to combine them. Now, when I say combine, that could be addition or subtraction. Now, we have rules that tell us whether we need to add or subtract these numbers. So our rule says if they are different signs, 5 is negative, 8 is positive, they are different, we need to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 5 from 8, which gives me 3. And because both the 5 and the 8 have a b, my answer will also have a b. Now, my next question is, I don't know if the 3 should be positive or negative. So I'm going to ask you to look for the bigger number. 8 is bigger than 5. And because 8 is positive, the answer 3 will also be positive. And since there's nothing to do with this 9, I'm just going to bring it down. I also want to point out that you do have calculators, and even though I said I don't want you to depend on your calculators, once you do the math, you can say negative 5 plus 8, and notice that it does give you a positive 3. Now, your calculator won't do negative 5b plus 8b. You have to remember that when you combine those, your answer has to have the b. Okay, so like I said, I don't need you to become dependent on your calculator, but I hope that you do use it to check your work. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We have an expression. I'm looking for numbers that can go together. So I see the n, and I also see that the 2, which is a negative 2, also has an n. I can see that we have these numbers, the plain numbers, that will go next to each other as well. So I'm going to rewrite this as a negative 4n minus 2n, bring down the negative 1 and the positive 1. So now that I've done that, I can see that these numbers will go together because they both have n, and these numbers will go together because they're both plain numbers. So this one's a little bit different because notice that the signs are the same. They're both negative. So if the signs are the same, I'm going to add it. All right. I don't know exactly what just happened, but we're good. All right, so the thing that I was saying before that all happened is that these have both the same sign. And so they're both negative. That means they're exactly the same. So we're actually using addition to put these together. So 4 plus 2 gives us 6. Because the 4 is bigger than the 2, the answer would be negative 6n. And then once again, the signs are different. This is a negative, this is a positive, so we're subtracting. 1 minus 1 is 0. We don't have to write down zeros, so there's nothing to bring down, and our answer is negative 6. Now, I do want to remind you that if you grab your calculator, you can type in -4. You can't type in -4n because it won't do variables for you. So if you do -4, use the negative when it's in the front. So if you don't know where to find the negative on this calculator, let me show you right here. That's the negative. We use that in the front of an expression. So I use -4, and then I'm going to use the -2. So anytime it's in between two numbers, use the minus. And if you hit that, notice that it tells you it's 6 and it's negative. And that's because the signs are the same, and that's why we added. All right, last one we have going on here is going to be this right here. So one of the things that I've noticed is that this has an m to the third. Even though some of these have m's, they're not raised to the third power. So I actually don't have anything to combine with this. I'm looking at this m and it's raised to the second power. This one doesn't have an exponent, but this one has an m to the second power. So that automatically tells me that this can be combined with this. And so when I rewrite this, I'm just going to bring down the 6m's to the third. I'm going to say -4m squared minus 2m squared plus 3m plus 5. So the only ones that are going to be combined here, even though there's a whole bunch of m's, we need to make sure that also the exponent matches. So I'm going to go ahead and say the same rules. Same signs, we need to add them. And then 4 is bigger than 2, so the answer is going to be a -6m squared. I'm going to bring everything else down. The 6m to the third power, the positive 3m plus 5. And even though we have multiple m's here, none of them are the same, so they cannot be combined. So your answer actually looks like this. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to pause right here so we can jump to the distributive property, and then we can talk about how to simplify expressions using both combining like terms and the distributive property. So I hope that has helped understand a little bit more about like terms, how to group them together, and how we can use the rules, whether they're same sign or different sign, to add or subtract. And like I said, your calculator is there to check your work. Make sure you're doing it correctly. So try it and then check it with your calculator. So I'll see you guys in the next video.